Welcome back to the Chad Hasty Show, News Talk, KFYO. Joining me in studio this morning, the mayor of Lubbock, Texas, who has, I don't know if he's had more stressful days, but probably the last week or so has been pretty stressful. Mayor Dan Pope, welcome back to the show, sir.
It's good to be here. It's been a while. Yeah, it's been an interesting last 10 days.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess we'll start off with the updates. You had mentioned to me that we have some updates. We have some new information.
Well, I think since our press conference last night, we have Hockley County announced their second case. I want to make sure people realize that those are really Lubbock cases also. Mm-hmm. That Hockley County resident is in one of our hospitals. I think what you see in Lubbock and Amarillo is that as these cases are reported in our more rural communities, often that health care is being provided in Lubbock or Amarillo. So we sort of jointly own that case. Wichita Falls went from 1 to 3. I know that there's also some concern at Shepherd that maybe they've got a case there. It's not confirmed yet. You had a case in Crane late yesterday. You've got, I know Midland reported at least one case. Amarillo's now, the Amarillo areas it went to 4 now. Those are rural residents that are in Amarillo. This continues to evolve, and we're thankful for our healthcare providers. I think what they did yesterday, activating more testing, both Covenant and UMC, I think that's important. I think what they've done to really tighten down their healthcare facilities is important. So remember, one visitor per patient. Yeah. If that patient is in isolation or ICU, that's one visitor per day, because we're trying to not only protect that patient and the healthcare workers, but we don't have enough PPE, enough personal protective equipment to have people rotating into that visit that patient. Anybody that's a visitor, even clergy members that are visitors that have the ability, are going to be screened. We're doing just like we're screening it on the second floor of City Hall, where we're checking everybody's temperature every morning. They're doing the same thing at your hospitals. They're taking it very seriously, because it's important that we protect. Those environments need to be as safe as they can be. And the men and women that are working there, just like our first responders, we've got to create an environment where they're safe. We count on them. That's where I see the stress in this system right now. It's our healthcare providers, and it's the folks that are getting our groceries to us. Yeah. And that's, we don't think about the men and women that are running those warehouses up at Affiliated in Amarillo, or our guys here at the United warehouse or the Walmart warehouse in Plainview. They're really as much first responders today as our police and fire are. And so anyway, that's where my head is this morning.
Let's talk about, there was a press conference yesterday with UMC and with Covenant.
Yes, sir.
Yesterday we saw UMC open up the drive-thru screening, which, we've been telling everybody, if you feel good, if everything's good, don't go. You don't have to go. Leave that to people who are feeling the symptoms right now, because you don't want traffic out onto, the different roadways. So tell us about what the announcements were yesterday from the hospitals and how it's a good thing.
Well, I think you first of all, what you said, I want to underscore that. If you feel well, this is not a go test, what do they call it? The worried well. Okay. Right. There's a lot of worried well in our community. We feel good, but we're a little bit worried that we might,
you almost convince yourself that you got a symptom almost.
That's right. And so if you drive through the line at UMC, or if you go to one of the 4 Covenant clinics that have been listed, they're going to screen you before you get to a testing standpoint. If they're going to, in fact, what UMC did a great job explaining it. They're going to, if you can get past their first screen, they're going to screen you for just the common flu. Yeah. And then they may do a strep culture on you right there.
And we saw yesterday at one point, I saw a report on Twitter where there were 15 cars in line, and they went and they asked, okay, well, how many people? They said, well, just about everybody has had who's been here, either nothing, strep, or the flu.
Right. As of late yesterday afternoon, they had sent one UMC had sent one test away from the drive-through. Now that's continuing to evolve. I don't have the most recent numbers on that, but I really applaud their efforts on that. I think getting people out of the emergency rooms, number one, getting them out of our health providers' offices. If you feel like you might have this, we don't want you to show up somewhere unless you want to do this drive-through. Pick up the phone, call your doc. If you don't have a doctor, call the health department. Call the Lubbock Health Department, 775-2933. Press option 1. We've added 15 more Lubbock Fire and Rescue trained men and women to answer those phones, along with our health department folks. If you don't have a health provider, we can get you one so they can do that screen on you, and they'll do a lot of that screen. Some of it's going to start on the phone, and if you need to go in, then they'll arrange for that to happen. But let's use the phone. If you've got questions, if you think you've been exposed, call the health department. We had 360 calls yesterday. That's double what we had the day before. Wow. We have those resources in place. If we need to add more, Chad, we'll add more people to that. We want to be responsive. We don't want people to be out there scared to death. Okay. This is not about panic. So let's make information based on fact. And the best way to get that is to talk to the pros.
When you look at the hospitals that we have here in Lubbock, and we're told that by today, statewide, thousands of people can be tested. Now, that's not here in Lubbock, but we're talking about statewide. We were told 10,000 people maybe a week would be able to be tested. How many? What's the number here in Lubbock? And is Lubbock prepared? There's a story in the Austin American-Statesman today that doctors say Austin hospitals are ill prepared for COVID-19 patients. What are you getting for the Lubbock hospitals?
Well, I would say our hospitals are prepared. I'm very thankful for their willingness to work together. I think our biggest risk from a healthcare provider, first responder risk is lack of PPE, the personal protective equipment. That's where we've asked for help from Austin. That's where we've asked for help from D.C. I had a chance to talk to Congressman Arrington this morning early. I talked yesterday with Congressman Arrington and Senator Perry and Representative Burrs and Frulo all at the same time, and that was our message. I mean, we feel good about everything else. We've got enough test kits for the ones that we're doing at Texas Tech. The testing is, you're right, it will continue to evolve, and there'll be a lot more of that capability. It's hard for me to quantify that, but even today, as we've said all along, if you are sick and we think you're symptomatic for this, we're going to get you tested. That is not a problem. Now, can we argue that we should have been prepared differently as a community, as a country, as a state? Maybe we can.
But there will be a time for that.
But that's not where I am. This to me is an apolitical kind of reaction. It's about what we do to provide for the safety of Lubbock citizens, and frankly, we own the region too, because we're the capital of West Texas, and so that's top of mind for us also.
Let's go ahead and take our break. When we come back, we'll talk about other moves the city is making, moves that they made at the very beginning, and moves that they may make moving forward. We'll talk about all of that with Lubbock Mayor Dan Pope when we come back. Yesterday, Governor Greg Abbott announced some new limitations, basically. Restaurants, they can do, dine out. They can do to-go orders. They can do curbside delivery. Mm-hmm. They can send margaritas out now. They can do that. No bars, basically. You're going to be limited to 10 people in groups. You had done an order the day before.
That's right.
So which order does everybody need to listen to? And there's some differences because I believe in the governor's order, it doesn't apply to places of worship. Is that right? Or does it apply to places of worship, or is that up in the air?
So let's back up on that. We started on Monday with an order at 200 with a number of exemptions. On Wednesday we went to 50, and we tightened down the exemptions quite a bit. Once again, trying to make decisions based on what we thought was best for our community, with the advice of our public health folks in our head. Yesterday, the governor came out with an order of no social gatherings of 10 or more. a number of the bars and restaurants, fitness clubs, massage parlors, a number of other things. It's only 2 pages. There's not a lot of detail to it. Frankly, you've seen it. We got some. I have some clarification. The first clarification we've gotten is that this does not apply to daycare. Whether it's in home or out of home. I mean, we got something from whoever monitors those folks at the state level, DHS, whatever it may be. We got that. In fact, I've got an email that was sent to me as I was driving out here. So that's an answer we got, a question we had yesterday, and that's hot off the press kind of news. I met this morning. I had a conference call at 8 this morning with a number of our faith leaders. I don't know how many were on the call, a bunch. We invited them all to be there, the ones we had contact information for. I couldn't tell them that they couldn't gather. My interpretation of that reading or that order is that would be a social gathering. There's certainly First Amendment rights. I'm not getting into that business. I think the majority of our churches have made changes to change the way their worship is done. Some of our churches don't have that ability. In fact, that's one of the things we talked about this morning, how a pastor could film a service and put it up on YouTube to get to their members as an example. There's different ways we can get at that. But, somebody asked me last night what I thought about the governor's order. And I said, the governor was elected to make decisions like that. And he got to the point where he felt like it was best for the entire state. I talked about it in the press conference. I talked to a business owner in Fort Worth yesterday. He was talking about where he does business, different locations, and the way and where his people work, and how all the different messages among these different municipalities, mostly in Tarrant County. Mm-hmm. I get that. And we even had some situations here for a period of time where the county and the city were a little bit different. We found a way to, I think, be in symphony. But I applaud the governor's action. So as of midnight tonight, if you see more than 10 together, don't call 911. Okay. That's just, if you feel like there's a need to call, we want you to call the non-emergency number at LPD. That number is 775-2865. We first would like you to probably approach your fellow citizens and say, hey, for all of our safety, would you please, disperse? That's what this is about. That's why I got so damn upset at the tech student the other day. I'm on the record on that one. But we worked with tech last weekend to go to remarkable links to make sure that those students and our community was safe when they came back in the country. And the fact that the bulk of them have followed that to the T, are still doing exactly what we asked them to do, but one chose to ignore that and put our community at risk. Yeah. And that to me is irresponsible, and that's what we're trying to guard against.
Hey, have you thought that there have been some actions taken in other communities, and I can tell you, listeners were livid at that student. Some said, fine should come, jail time, whatever it may be. But there have been some communities that if you're told to quarantine, they've put officers outside somebody's home. I mean, do you see that coming to Lubbock?
Very well could. I mean, this family that is quarantined is under order of the public health official. If we feel like they are not following that, then the next step is that, but it's a district judge orders that. At that point, we will post first responders there to guard the home. Yeah. We take it seriously. I had the same kind of phone calls you got yesterday. In fact, unbelievable number of calls about that and the frustration in our community. I'm not trying to get people worked up about it. It's my way of saying how serious it is. I think our people need to take it seriously.
Mayor, and I'm going to hold you over for at least one more segment,
sure.
If you can, because there's so many things to look at here. A lot of questions have come up, and it's not just about you. This is about everybody, nationwide, where powers come from, to say, hey, businesses, we're going to limit you to this number. We're going to limit you to that. Yeah. And I'm not going to ask you to speak for the governor and, where his powers come from. But as mayor, where do those emergency powers come from and kick in, and the legality of those? How does all that work?
Well, they come from the city charter. It's one of the things they tell you the first week after you're elected and sworn in. They go through that with you. You remember a bit of it, but you really sort of hope you never have to put it in place. So we went back early last week, and they briefed me again on this. You have to be very careful. There's what we can and cannot do. The public health authority in a situation like this becomes a very important part of what we're doing. Those quarantine orders are at the direction of the public health authority. In our case, Dr. Ron Cook, Dr. Douglas Klepper backs him up. They're men that are generally doing this as a service to our community. There's a very small stipend that's involved that we update. We contract with them on an annual or maybe every other year kind of basis. But that's where those powers are vested. It's something that we don't take lightly. Our legal people have John Grace, who's a member of our legal team, who worked for many years at the county and then just is a valuable member of our team, understands it very well. He's been our point person on that this week. That's really all he's done. Once the governor's order came down yesterday, that we pulled it in and want to make sure that it's in line with ours. You'll see me later today or Monday bring our order in line with his. We believe that's the right thing to do. I've not been briefed this morning. That was last night, they told me, but I feel we'll do that. That will not be really news. It's more just it'll be dotting I's, crossing T's kind of thing.
Do y'all plan to hold a press conference after, after each case is announced, or do you draw the line somewhere? Because y'all had set up a process where, I mean, I think members of the press were a little bit frustrated with you guys. It wasn't y'all's fault, but it was very transparent. It was, okay, 2 hours after we got a confirmed case, we're setting up a press conference. We can't give you all the details, but we're going to let everybody know.
Yeah. So, two things on that. We're going to, as soon as we know about positives, you saw this happen last night. I left City Hall at 5 till 7. We had not gotten any positives. We got the positive for the Hockley County resident, who I believe is in I think is at Covenant. I'm not certain. I know is in one of our hospitals. That information, Judge Baldridge, the county judge in Hockley County, within an hour had a press conference about it. So she had come over for our conference earlier in the week. I think they feel like we do. We're going to put that information out. Then we're going to hold a press conference within 2 hours. Now, as it changes, then we may alter that. We told the press yesterday to not expect a press conference tonight unless we had new cases to talk about. We will do our weekly conference on Mondays for certain. We're going to give a weekly, more of a big picture kind of update. I think the thing we're really watching, Chad, is, to my knowledge, all of our cases are travel cases. Mm-hmm. That's a distinction. Somebody got it somewhere else and came back here with it. We're really focused on community spread. When that happens, that really heightens our sensitivity.
When we come back, we'll continue our discussion with Lubbock Mayor Dan Pope here on the Chad Hasty Show, News Talk KFYO. All right, Chad Hasty Show, News Talk KFYO. Lubbock Mayor Dan Pope in studio as we hear more and more about the reaction and the actions taken by the city of Lubbock. Mayor Pope, I had somebody who texted in earlier. You see different states and cities and municipalities taking action of trying to I guess relieve the burden on people.
Yes, sir.
You see some landlords doing that in different cities. Right. LP&L announced earlier this week, or maybe it was last week. It all runs together now. That they're not going to cut anybody off. They're not going to cut anybody's service off. Right. Basically while this is going on, while we're in this emergency. We had someone else who said, what if I can't pay my water bill? What if I can't pay, the other utilities that are out there? What happens then?
Yeah, so all of our utilities have been, both the city utilities as well as our partners, AT&T, Verizon, Atmos, Suddenlink. I'm probably going to leave somebody out, but they've all announced relatively similar kind of actions. Not going to disconnect. In fact, some of them have enhanced their services with the idea that we'll be working at home, more bandwidth, et cetera. If you've got problems paying your bill, reach out to Lubbock Utility Customer Service. I mean, we're in business there. We're closing that lobby other than to the kiosk or to the drive-through payments. But our customer service folks are there for people who need to hook up services. So if you don't have services, since we're not doing disconnects, we hope that part of it slows down over the next few weeks, the reconnects. But call us, pick up the phone and call us. Tell us what your problem is. Let us work with you. We've got it's a difficult one for us because the city charter says that everybody pays for that. Yeah. So there are some emergency actions that can take place. We can work on payment plans. We certainly have the ability to do that, but it's certainly better for someone to say they've got a problem than us not know what's going on.
Yeah. When it comes to, and you had mentioned about hospital workers, they're being, whenever you walk into a hospital or whatever, temperatures are being taken. First responders, LPD and the fire department and EMS, are they all doing the same thing?
Yeah, they are. We're working on the safety of those men and women is critical. So they're certainly being screened. The thing we're telling them, like we're telling everyone else, is if you don't feel well, don't come to work. I got a little grief from a friend of mine last night because I coughed a couple times during the press conference. That's probably just a function of the fact that I'm talking all day long. I'm hoarse in general, but I'm not sick. But if you're sick, we don't want you at work. But the safety and the health of our frontline employees, our first responders, our health professionals, those that are providing those essential services, as the governor described it, that's top of mind for us. And I think all of us that have those people on our teams, we're putting everything in place we can to make sure they have what they need.
Your background, you're a business guy.
Yeah.
And of course we don't know what the federal government's about to do with the phase 3 stimulus. We know we're learning more about the phase 2 stimulus.
That's right.
From what you know now, and as a business guy, talk to small business owners out there who are probably very anxious out there. What do you worry about small businesses right now, or are you, the impact that all this is having on those folks and the impact it'll have on Lubbock?
Sure. I would be lying if I said it didn't worry me. I'm not a worrier in general. I've been through this. I was in business with the .com bust. I was in business for 9/11. I was at business in 2008. I can remember how it impacted our business, how the tough decisions I had to make. I talked to via text with a small business owner this morning who said he's laying off 5 people this morning. He asked me for a prayer for him. And I just closed my eyes and, because I've been there. And we all will have to make difficult decisions. However, I think that most often that decision is not locking the door. That decision is, what do I need to do for my business, for the families, or for my clients, the people that I serve, for my employees and their families? What do we need to do to survive? And sometimes that's changing the way we do business. I applaud our restaurants who have taken a bunch of gut shots this week. And, you got folks that never did curbside doing curbside. And I think you'll see that coming out. You got folks offering discounts. Let's support our local businesses to the degree we can. Remember that they're there for us when we celebrate our birthdays, we celebrate our big games. We go there to watch the games and drink a beer. We can't do that now, but we can still patronize them. And whether you want them to deliver, or you want to drive by and get it, let's do that. We can't just go into some kind of shelter and we need to support those folks. The Uber Eats, the favor, the delivery kind of capabilities. A lot of the businesses have been delivering forever. Yeah. Some of them it's very new to, but as I've talked to the Restaurant Association this week, what I've heard is resolve among those people that we're going to stay around. This is going to impact us. It's going to impact our employees, but we're going to do what we can to keep the doors open. Therefore, when we start to recover, they recover quicker. They become strong quicker. And that's my encouragement to everyone.
Before we wrap up, looking into the future, One, how long does this go on before it has a major impact on future budgets? And two, construction projects. You got two big ones downtown, Mayor.
Yeah.
You've got Buddy Holly Hall and you've got Citizens Tower. I know you are probably sick and tired of talking about Citizens Tower questions and construction. Is there construction going on right now with these new orders?
Well, the good news about Citizens Tower is that we were able to, our IT people were given the green light yesterday to be in the tower working. So we're basically getting that project from the contractor, though that work is largely done. There's punch list work going on, but it's not having an impact on that project. This is an interesting question you bring up. We had a phone call late yesterday afternoon about we've got two hospital projects going on in our community.
Sure.
Essential services? I think so.
Yeah.
I think as long as those contractors are putting in place some of these safety precautions, no more than groups, more than 10, all the hygiene type things, not breaking for lunch together. I think those are essential. I have not had a chance to have a discussion around Buddy Holly Hall, but you know a construction project like I do. Rarely are there 10 people in an area that would be outside or inside, would break the social distancing. So I don't think the governor's order said close down the construction projects. I think that's maybe more of an owner's perspective. If LIPA said, hey, we think we close it down, that's a different animal. I've not had a discussion around that. We're doing all we can to allow men and women to continue to work.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody who characterizes this as just all you're out there is trying to do is protect business is wrong, Chad. And you know that just like Jody and I do. It's that we need to make sure that as many people that can work are able to work and do it safely. And that's where I'm going to be on this.
Okay. And again, how long does this go on before it has an impact on the city budget?
Well,
I'm sure it's already had one.
We're thankful for a strong economy going in. We were way ahead on our sales tax collections. That'll be the thing we see happen to us first. That's the largest part, a little bit larger than property tax, the largest part of our general fund. So that's how we mow parks, pay police, pay fire, run the libraries, run City Hall. That'll be the first place we see an impact. We budget conservatively there. I think this year we feel like we'll be okay. We have reserves. Don't forget that we do that just like anybody that would work prudently would do, and we have reserves. So we've already started looking at next year. There's part of our team that is not, our finance folks are not as much responding to this crisis as they are doing what they normally do this time of year, budgeting. And so they're looking at different models as we look at the 2020-2021 budget year. I've not gotten any detail on that. I know that work is ongoing. We will talk about that. It's interesting you bring it up. We're going to talk about that Tuesday at our council meeting. We think it's important that our citizens know that it's going to impact us and that we are already thinking about it and working on it.
Okay, this is the last one, I promise.
That's okay. We're good.
And it just came in on the text line. Sure. I think it's a great question. LIDA has given out grants before for downtown.
Yeah.
LIDA, I don't know how much is in their budget. Is that a potential resource for businesses to reach out to and say, we need a little bit of help right now?
It's a great question. Their board meets on Wednesday.
Yeah. I hadn't even thought about it.
That's a great question. It's something that we need to think about how we might take and reposition a grant program, or even for that matter, a short-term loan program. That might be another way that we could get emergency funds to business. I don't know what the state law says. I'm thinking as out loud, but it's something we'll certainly consider. And Chad, I'll be glad to come back on anytime if this is helpful for your listeners. I can call in. I'll come out here. My job is to make sure we're communicating as a community, that we're listening. And that's my commitment, and I appreciate the time, and really I appreciate what you guys are doing. I think our media has been fantastic. They've been responsible. They're not trying to fan the flame. They're being factual, and that's what this is about. It's not about panic. It's about how we pull together and work our way through this.
Well, Mayor Dan Pope, thank you very much.